Statistics, some world statistics, right? What percentage of the world do you think is Christian? Wild guess. What percentage of the world? Okay, what's the population of the world? Huh? 8 billion. Okay, 8 billion. What percentage of 8 billion is Christian? Huh? 10. Huh? 12. One more. Huh? 60. Okay, so 31.11% of 8 billion is Christian. 31.11. What percentage is Islam?
24.
Cheating. Cheater. 24.9% is Islam. So the major, I'm not doing some general knowledge this morning. I'm trying to connect it with what I'm going to share. So the two major religions is Christianity first, 31%. The second is Islam, 24%. Then the secular, non-religious, agnostic and atheist are 15%. That is, they believe in the tree, in the sun, in the moon, in the rock, in the bench, in the tube light. These are all 15%. And Hinduism is 15%. Okay? Now, I'm giving you all the statistics because I'm going to connect it here. So if you take the Christians and the Muslims, did you know that Muslims and Christians are almost the same breed? From the same father? Who? Abraham. Okay, so the Christians and the Muslims are the same breed of God. That consists of 56% of the world. More than half of the world is from the same father. Okay? Now, if you take the Hindus, they're not from a different father. They're also from the same father. They decided to go to another father. Okay? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Now I'm going to close this. Okay? When God created the world, created Adam and Eve, everybody came out of Adam and Eve. Okay? Last night I was doing some study on Hinduism and reading a lot of stuff. I'm getting interested in reading about others because it's good to know what other people believe. And in the Hindu mythology and belief, who was the first human in the Hindu mythology? Who was the first human being? What was his name? Like in the Christians, they have Adam and Eve, right? The Hindus have a mythology. Who was the first human created in the Hindu mythology? All you former Hindus, shame on you. Okay, the name of the person is Manu. Manu was the first human. Okay, long story short, he was the first human on earth. Manu. Okay, so Manu was there, and Manu was near a pond, and Manu saw a fish. And I'm not giving you general knowledge. I'm going to connect this with what I'm going to share this morning. Manu saw a small fish, and the fish spoke to Manu. And the fish said, "Manu, can you please help me?" And Manu came close to the fish. It was a small pond. And the fish said, "If you can take me from this pond to a safer place, because the big fish are going to eat me up, can you protect my life?" Right? So Manu took the fish, took it to a pond. The fish grew a little bigger. And then he took it from that pond to a small lake. Fish grew bigger. And finally the fish said, "The lake is too small for me. Put me in the wide ocean." So Manu took the fish, put it in the wide ocean. The fish grew so big. And then the fish told Manu, "There's going to be a flood, and I'm going to wipe out all humanity. So build an ark." Hindu mythology. Is it ringing a bell to you? Okay, keep the bell there. We'll ring it later on. The fish told Manu, "I'm going to destroy this world. Everything. Go take all one seed of every plant and every animal. Make an ark and keep it there. I'm going to save you." So Manu built an ark, took all the seeds and the fish and the birds and then put in the ark. Tied a rope. The fish told him, "Tie the rope on the ark." He tied the rope on the ark. The other rope was tied to the fish's horn. There was a horn on the fish. It was tied on the fish, and the fish was the size of a whale. It pulled the ark out of the storm, a safe place. The storm came and went, everything died, and then the fish told Manu, now I want you to start creating life from now onwards. Make everything and multiply. I love that story last night. It's amazing. Go read all these things, it's amazing. Where do you think all these things come from? It comes from only the one person who created humanity and the world, right? And so, turn with me to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Deuteronomy chapter 4. I'm going to read from verses 32. Deuteronomy 4:32 onwards, and we'll finish with 40. Deuteronomy 4:32 to 40. And this morning, I want to talk about the greatness of God. There is only one. There is no other. The greatness of God. It starts off with 32 saying, now search of this is, by the way, this is Jehovah speaking. It says, now search all of history from the time God created people on the earth until now, and search from one end of the heavens to the other. Has anything as great as this ever been seen or heard before? God's asking his people, the Israelites. Has any nation ever heard the voice of God? Speaking from fire, as you did, and survived? Has any other God dared to take a nation for himself out of another nation by means of trials, miraculous signs, wonders, war, a strong hand, powerful arm, and terrifying acts? Yet, that is what the Lord your God did for you in Egypt right before your eyes. He showed you these things so you would know that the Lord is God and there is no other. He let you hear his voice from heaven so he could instruct you. He let you see his great fire on earth so he could speak to you from it. Because he loved you, because he loved your ancestors, he chose to bless their descendants. And he personally brought you out of Egypt with a great display of power. Verse 38 says, he drove out the nations far greater than you, so he could bring you in and give you their land as your special possession, as it is today. Verse 39 says, so remember this and keep it firmly in your mind. The Lord is God both in heaven and on earth, and there is no other. If you obey all these decrees and commands I'm giving you today, all will be well with you and your children. I'm giving you these instructions so you will enjoy a long life in the land the Lord your God is giving you for all time. Wow. That's the reason why I was talking about the statistics of Christians and Hindus and Muslims. And it says, look at all of history. Go from the ends of that earth and come back here to the ends of the seas. Go everywhere and ask yourself, did you ever hear or experience anything like this before? Has God ever spoken with his voice to his people ever like I did to you? Now listen, the Israelites were such a fortunate group of people. Such a fortunate group of people. They heard the voice of God himself. இஸ்ரவேல் ஜனங்க வந்து ரொம்ப கொடுத்து வச்சவங்க. ஆண்டவருடைய வார்த்தையை அவங்க கேட்டாங்க. ஆண்டவருடைய சொந்த வாயால சொந்த வார்த்தையால அவங்க கேட்டாங்க ஒரு வார்த்தை. ரொம்ப கொடுத்து வச்சாங்க. Very, very blessed people. And after hearing his own voice, the voice of God, their creator, they still had issues, complaints, problems, grumbling, mumbling, comparing, criticizing, all of that stuff. And he's reminding them, hey, have you ever heard of this anywhere before? Go to the history. If Google was there, God would have said, go Google and see if you find anything. I wish Google was there for the Israelites. God said, hey, go and Google, like how Shirley was Googling just now. Go and Google and find, and if you find any God who's spoken to you face to face, go find out. I spoke to you with my own voice. I revealed my personality to you. Just as a social experiment, maybe you should do this. Just as a social experiment. Go to all your friends, all your non-Christian friends. Ask them, have you heard the voice of God? Just do a social experiment. Just go and ask them, hey, have you heard the voice of your God? Don't do it with criticism. Don't do it with judgment. No, I'm asking you to seriously do it as a social experiment. Just tell them, hey, how long have you been worshipping your God? Did you hear his voice anytime? I challenge you, nobody would say yes. Challenge you. Continue experiment with the Christians also. Continue to the Christians. Go and ask your Christian friends, did you hear the voice of your God? Again, I'll challenge you, most of them will say no. We heard the voice of our pastor last Sunday. That's all we heard. That also half only we heard, other half we couldn't understand what he was saying. Listen, here's the God, the creator of the universe, who's saying, go and search, go and find, go compare, go try me and see if you'll find anybody like me. There is no other. 3 times it says in this passage, there is no other. It's me and me alone. It says, search all of history from the time God created people on the earth until now, and search from one end of the heavens to the other end. You know what's the oldest religion on earth? Let me see if you get this. What's the oldest religion on earth? Come on, you people. You have to know this. At least India needs to know this. What is the oldest religion on earth? Huh? What? I said religion, not language. What's the oldest religion on earth? Hinduism. How old is Hinduism? Any guess? It's about 5,000 to 6,000 years old. How old is Christianity? Christianity is 2,000 years old. Now listen to me. I'm trying to make a point here. Christianity is 2,000 years old. Hinduism is about 5,000, double the amount of Christianity. It is the oldest religion. You know which is the oldest language in the world? Tamil. The oldest language in the world. Now listen to me. Wait for some time. Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world. Follow me here. Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world. Okay? Christianity is only half old of Hinduism. What's the percentage of Christians in the world? 31%. What's the percent of Islam and Christians which from the same father? 56%. What's the percentage of Hinduism? 15%. How can Hinduism be the oldest religion and Islam and Christians be the majority? I just have some homework. Just do some homework. I'm not giving you any answers. Hinduism is 6,000 years old. The world should have 70% of Hindus by now, if it is the oldest religion in the world. Okay? Christianity is only 2,000 years old. Okay? When we say 2,000 years old, don't misunderstand Christianity. 2,000 years back, Jesus came. That's what they calculate as Christianity. Okay, let's get this straight. Christianity is not 2,000 years old. Christianity is as old as Adam and Eve. Christianity is as old as Adam and Eve, minus the word Christ, because when Adam and Eve was there, Jesus was with God in heaven. He was not around on earth. So, which is the oldest religion in the world? Christianity. On records, it's only 2,000 years old. In reality, it's the oldest. So on records, Hinduism is about 5,000 to 6,000 years old, but there's only 15% of Hindus worldwide. 95% of that 15% is where? Come on, people. 15% of Hindus are in the whole world. 95% of that 15% is where? India. Say hallelujah. Hallelujah. நான் பயப்படுறீங்களா சொல்றது? 95% of that 15% is in India. The rest are in Sri Lanka, Mauritius, Maldives, and 1 or 2 countries. There are only 2 official, not official, I beg your pardon, not official, I take back my statement. There are only 2 countries with the majority of Hindus. Which are the 2? India and Nepal. India and Nepal have the most number of Hindus. India is not officially a Hindu country. What is India? It's a social democratic republic. It's not a Hindu country, but it's majority of Hindus. Nepal was declared a Hindu country from the beginning. It was declared a Hindu country. Last year, they took away that status. Nepal is no more a Hindu country. It is a secular country right now. It's a secular country. It's not Hindu anymore. So, question, bottom line, which is a Hindu country in the whole world? Which is a Hindu country in the whole world? Which is an official Hindu country in the whole world? Huh?
India.
No.
Nepal.
No. Huh?
Official Hindu country.
There is no Hindu country at all. It's got Hindu people. Which is a defined, spoken Muslim country in the world. How many? Many. More than 7 or 8 are Muslim countries. Malaysia, some African countries, okay, Mauritius, Maldives. Maldives is a Muslim country. This is declared Muslim. And there are a few countries declared as Christian, like Rome. That's Christian. America is not declared as Christian, but they believe. If you take the dollar, American dollar, says, "In God we trust." I don't know which God. That's another question. Can be many gods. Right? But 65% of Americans are Christians. What kind of Christians? We don't know. Christians. Right? Now, why am I saying this? I'm trying to make a point here. He's saying, go and search and find if you will find anybody like me. I'm giving you proof of what he's saying through statistics. That's all I'm doing. Now, if you take the 15% of the Hindus, and if you take Hinduism as the oldest religion, where did they come from? Where did they come from? Aryans. If you trace back the Aryans to where did they come from, where did they come from? They all came from Adam and Eve. In my opinion, I can be wrong, but I will correct myself if I'm wrong. But here's my research. Hinduism would have started, you know where and when? When Moses went up the mountain to speak to God. By the time he came down, they made a golden calf. Calf, not deer, not camel, calf. Today, our Hindu friends, who do they worship? Cow. The calf grew to cow. Calf became big. Cow. That's where I think Moses' people who were worshipping Jehovah were very, very in a hurry. They couldn't wait for Moses to come. Now, Moses, what's happening, man? We need to worship something. Now let me make a point here. Let me make a point here. You know why they were so much in a hurry? Can you guess your wildest guess why they couldn't wait for Moses to come to worship? Why? Good. They want something to worship. Why they want something to worship? You're close there. You're warm. I want to get hot now. Because they created to worship. Absolutely. God created humans to worship. It's a software inside. You cannot but worship. And if you don't worship God, you'll be worshiping your mobile phone. Or your Mercedes-Benz car. Or your HP job. Or your 1.5 lakh salary. Or your shoe. Or your 10,000 rupees coat. Or this 5,000 rupees microphone. Or the technology in the camera. You'll be worshipping all that if you don't worship God. because God has created you with a software that urges you and always wants you to worship, these fellows could not wait for Moses to come down. They're like, let's worship. Let's worship. Dude, let's worship, man. And some nut there would have instigated. Let's just make something, man. Bring the gold, bring the gold. All the earrings and the chains and the necklaces all came. They took all the women's jewelry, melted it, made one image that came out as a calf. Hey! God, 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 God. That poor calf has become a deity today. By the time Moses came down, actually Moses didn't know anything. God told him what's happening on top. Moses was very, very connected with God at the meeting. God said, I'm cancelling the meeting right now. The meeting is over. There's a bigger meeting down there. Please go down. Look at those ungrateful people, what they're doing. Moses had no clue what's happening down there. Moses came down, saw the commotion, saw the calf, saw these weirdos. He said, what the heck are you doing, man? You couldn't wait for a few days? You're doing this nonsense? That's when the oldest religion of the world would have started, in my opinion. I can be wrong. But even if I'm wrong, I'm okay about it. Because there was no other. There was no other. And there will be no other apart from God, Jehovah. That's who He is. And says, go and search. Has anything great ever happened like this? And verse 34 says, has any other God dared to take a nation for himself out of another nation by means of trials and miracles, signs and wonders and strong hand and powerful arm and a terrifying axe? Has any ever God done that? I have done that. Go search in history. It says, yet this is what the Lord your God did for you in Egypt. I did this for you in Egypt, right before your eyes. I have a question this morning. Where is your Egypt? Where is your Egypt? The Israelites had their Egypt. He was doing stuff in Egypt before their eyes. Everybody has an Egypt. Everybody has an Egypt. Where is your Egypt? When was the last time you saw your Egypt and you reminded yourself of your Egypt? When was the last time you forgot your Egypt, what God did for you? You know what He's basically telling these people? You're forgetting what I've done for you, man. You're ungrateful people. Something is wrong with you, fellas. Some brain damage has happened to you. You're not using your brain for the right purpose, you're using it for the wrong purpose. This morning, in this passage, God said, in Egypt I did this for you. This morning God's asking you, where's your Egypt? Can you remember your Egypt and what God did for you in your own Egypt? He showed you these things so you would know that the Lord is God and there is no other. Once again. Again He's saying, there is no other. The Lord is your God. There is no other. I was thinking about that word, there is no other. There is no other. I was thinking about that word, there is no other. You know what that meant to me? There cannot be any options for you to worship. There cannot be any options. No other. It is either this or it's not that. If you look at others as options, apart from God your God, you're already in trouble. You're already in trouble. Some of our options can be a lot of different things. Some of our options can be people who help us. Some of our options can be our education. Oh, I've got a nice education. That's why I got a good job. That's why I got a good salary. That's why I got a good house and I got a good car. It takes only a few minutes for you to lose your job. Some of you that's the truth. You got your job for maybe 10 years, don't feel happy about it. You can lose it like that. By the time you go back home and have tea and snacks, you can open your email and find some message that you don't want to see. It can happen. It can happen. When I see some of our young people getting jobs and salaries and bragging and boasting about it, I feel very sad. Because that's not something you want to brag and boast about. You want to brag and boast about the guy who made that happen to you, not what happened to you.